let me explain a couple of things before we get started. You're going to be working with groups of 3, and you're going to have some manipulatives. Okay, so base 10 blocks, some flaps, some section rods, and unit cubes. Okay. Remember, manipulatives are tools to show the math, and not toys. Okay, so we're have our manipulatives, we're going to use them to show the math. They're not going to build houses out of it. Not today, maybe another day, right? So when you have these, your tools to show the math. So I'm going to tell you what groups you're in together, and then when everybody gets settled, we'll have a bunch of teachers in here watching me, watching you guys do the math. So a couple of things I expect you to do when you're doing your math is to focus on the math and to talk to each other. So I want you to talk to each other. There are going to be a couple of times when we come back together, I'll show some of your work on the screen. And I'll ask you to turn and talk to a partner. So that'll be when you're in with a partner. So if you go ahead and point to the person you're going to turn and talk with, and point to the person you'll turn and talk with, probably right next to you would be great. And it can be a 3-group turn and talk. Because everybody got somebody kind of to turn and talk with? Perfect. So when we come back together, that's who you'll turn and talk with. So how we're going to do it is you 3 right here will be a group. Don't touch this till we're ready, okay? And then you 3, you will, in a minute, we'll move your chair over to these guys and work with them, okay? Then if you 3 can be the group, okay? And so you can turn your desk around to her. And then if you 3 can be a group, when we say get the group, you just bring the desk over to these 2 guys and work with them. So we're going to turn back in. Don't turn yet. Don't turn yet. Oh, you're good. So you can join us. All right, everybody else who you're working with in groups? Awesome. Y'all tell me when you're ready. Is everybody ready? We're all ready. Y'all good? Okay. All right. Well, we're going to get started. You all know who your groups are when we get ready to work in our group work this morning. Okay. So let's see if I can get this power. Doesn't look like it. I think I can move it this way. So our learning target for the day. What you're learning today is you are learning to solve addition and subtraction problems. So we're going to go to problem 8, and you're going to work with your base 10 blocks to solve your addition or subtraction problem. Your success criteria, how you'll know you're successful and how you've learned it, is if you can model and write an equation to match. So if you can model and write an equation to match, okay? That's one thing. I'm sorry, they have something they can write with. So when they pull that out, okay. So you will need something to write with your model. So when I say model, I'm talking about using your base 10 blocks that are in front of you, okay? Remember our rules and expectations. Everybody works together, shares the models, and talks to each other about what you're doing in line. So you got to model and write an equation. Tell your neighbor how you're going to be successful today. What are you going to have to do to be successful? Tell your neighbor. All right, so we're going to model and write an equation to be successful today, right? While we solve addition or subtraction problems. Okay, so let's look at our problem for the day. Clicker's not working. So how many people have mom and dad have cell phone? Yeah, do they take lots of pictures on it? Did they take pictures of you before the first day of school? Yeah. And do they have lots and lots of pictures on their phone? Oh my goodness. So our problem today is about a cell phone and pictures, okay? So Ben, he has 215 pictures on his phone. Ooh, that's a lot, isn't it? And Sarah, she has 173 pictures on her phone. What I need you all to help me figure out today with your base 10 blocks is how many photos do Ben and Sarah have all together in their phones, okay? And remember, you've got to model, that's kind of cut off, but you've got to model and write an equation to match to be successful today. Are you ready to roll? All right, I want you to get with your partners, and I want you to work on solving this problem with your base 10 blocks. And don't forget to write that equation. I'm going to say my time. Yeah, just like, are you, yeah, no, you make just your chair. Okay, so tell me what you're thinking you're going to do. You like need miles of gas. Okay.
Let's start with the one.
Okay, so what do you mean by what you mean by laying out the problem? Okay, I'm gonna let y'all get started on it and making your number on the back statement, okay? All right, talk to me about what you're thinking over here, guys. What's not?
So those two
Okay, so they're making 215. 173. Okay, so you're making the two numbers. Then what are you gonna do?
We're gonna add them together.
Okay, how are you thinking you're gonna add them together? Oh, I bet you can, but you got to model it. It's part of our success criteria today and write an equation, right? So what are you thinking that you're going to do once you get the models out? What do you think you're going to do?
So we're going to start with the ones. So we're going to add 5 and 30.
Okay. And so how do y'all know to add? Idea? I told you to add. I did want to say we were solving addition or subtraction problems, but why you could see solving a subtraction. Is this one subtraction?
Let's just do this. So we have to add
In all, we're putting them all together. So you're going to see you're putting the ones together, then you're going to put the tens together. So here's what I want you guys to think about. Once you do that, I want you to think, what's the equation that will match that model? So you have to get out your dry erase markers or whatever you use to record it, and think about what equation is going to match that. Okay, we'll come back to it. All right, talk to me about your model. Let's get here.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so tell me, where did you get 300? Why did you know to use 3 flats? Because I don't see 300s up there. So why did you? So you added the hundreds together. I did. And so then how did you get this, the 8 tens?
Wait, don't put them all.
So it's 7 plus 1, or is it 7 plus 1, or is it 7 10 plus 1? Gotcha. So then when you put them all together, this is your total. So I need, what is your answer? 388. Here's what I want. So I noticed you put them all together. I'm wondering is, can you show me how you combine them together? So you show me how the hundreds came together, how the tens came together, and then write an equation to match. Another part of our success criteria is write equations. I love how you put them together. And I'm wondering if you can show me your thought process of how you put them together with an equation maybe underneath here. Show me how you get it together. Y'all want the right equation, okay? Yeah, I think you can. Yes, they can. Yes, you can. Oh, remember part of our expectations today, not toys today, right? So try this. Okay, so what are you thinking here? How did you come up with your answer? 8 1. So tell me, ladies and gentlemen, how did you get 8 1s? What did you know to do? So can you show me the 3 and 5 in the model? Like how? Where's the 3 and where's the 5? Can you separate those out for me? So you have the 3 and the 5. Okay. So you put the 3 and 5 together, but originally they were separated like this. So what was the first number that you added together? Okay, and then what did you do next?
Then we added the tens.
Okay, so what was the 10 in the first number?
Both of them.
1. So where would that go? Would it go with the 3 or the 5?
I'm gonna do it all different ways. Let's stick them different ways to add
The 5. So can y'all show me that number together? Can you show me that 215? Where's your 215? Can you show me that with your blocks? 200. That's
That's okay. You got it right there. Is that 215? Here's your 200 and your 15. We have no, I don't know. Okay, so we have our 215 here, right? And so you said you added the ones together. So our other number is what? What's that number?
We already did it. So it would be.
So what's that number, Sarah? We have how many pictures on her phone? 173. So can you show me 173 with your blocks? So you have leave your 215 now because we want to show how those put together. This is the 215 right here. Okay. So you got your 173. Can you put that on top there so we can have the 173 on the top here so we can have them side by side? You got it? You want to put your 10s in? Is that your 7? So remember, y'all work together. You have your 7 10s and your 7 10s. I'll put this back in. And your 3 1s. All right. Can we separate those out so we can see the place values? So we can see the 1s and the 10s. Okay. So you have your 215 and you have your 173. You got your 7 10s up here. Like that, like those right there. So talk to me. You were saying, can you lay those right there? Yeah. Okay, let me take a picture of this. Can you put those 3 ones right there? Okay, perfect. So talk to me about why you said you put them together. So can you kind of show me that? How did you put them together? You just thought about it. How did you show me? Ah, there you go, combining them together. So here's what I want to know. See how they're separated right now? I want to know if you show me an equation that shows the value of these digits, that this is 200, this is 10, this is 5. Can you show me an equation that shows the values being added together? Can y'all leave these sitting right here and write an equation that would match this? Think you can do that? All right, y'all work with that on the back. All right, guys. Y'all working on your equation? All right, so if I see it. Okay, let's hear it. So how about one of you do the hundreds? So what number are you making? You're doing hundreds. So which number are we going to make? 215 or 173? 200. All right, so if you're in charge of the hundreds, then you show us how many hundreds we need for 215. Perfect. So that's one number. And let's let her be in charge of the hundreds. So there's your 215. So how many hundreds do you need in your next number? One. Can you get that since you're in charge of the hundreds? Awesome. So there's our next 200 and our 100. What's next for our 200? What do we need? Who's going to be in charge of the 10 rocks? Okay, so let's make that one.
Right on equation.
Why is he getting out so many? Oh, how many are you? How do you know how many you need?
Try a different one.
Where you need 5 10s? Where does it say you need 5 10s in the problem? So in the end of 215, she says the 5 tells us we need 5 10s. Y'all agree with that? Yep. So look, you don't agree with that? Blocks. 5 once you're telling me the second digit tells you how many 10s. What do y'all think? The second digit telling you how many 10s.
All right. What is it?
So we only had 15. Let's pretend the 200 wasn't there. We were going to make 15. Would you get 5 of these? And that you would call that 15? What would you need to do to show me 15? If you didn't know? Yeah. This 10, right? For the 15. So the 1 does tell us how many 10s there are. So he's got the 200 and his 15. Can you go ahead and get out the 10s for the next numbers? And then you be in charge of the 1s. And then I want y'all to work together to figure out, have you decided if you're going to add or subtract? You think add? Why do you think add? You think so? So once you finish getting out all the 1s, I want y'all to work together to show how to add them together. What would you do with the blocks? Yep. What would you do with the blocks to show they're added? And then I want to see an equation to match that. Remember, that's part of our success criteria today. Yeah, you can. Oh my goodness, let's talk about this equation. What is happening here?
So look, 8 plus 80. We already got shot and
Okay.
so since they were so we already have 5.
Okay.
So think they're kind of running out. And
So when she says she added 2 plus 1 to get 3, where do you see 2 plus 1 to get 3 in your equation?
Well,
Where did you add? Oh, wait.
I think she was like
200 plus 100. Oh, so 2 plus 1, but it's 200 plus 100 gave you 300. Is there a way you could show me what you added together maybe underneath this? Could somebody like come around maybe to write, unless you can write upside down, I'm sure good at that. And show me what you actually added together to get these sums. Can somebody work on that? And so here's what else I want to know. This is awesome. I love your model and I love your equation, your mean no success criteria right now. But I'm going to challenge you. You have to write a different equation that doesn't show them all spread out like this. Is there another equation that you could write that would show them maybe on top of each other, that would show these partial sums in a different way? I want y'all to think about what that would look like. I like how you're going over and y'all talk about what should be under here where you're at. Oh, let's check this out. What is happening in your equations? Tell me what you're thinking. How did you come up with this? Take a picture of it. Okay, then you added them together. And so how did you add them together? Okay, what did you put together first? You put the ones together first? So where in your equation did you show the ones being put together? Oh, the 5 and the 3. Okay, I'm following you. And so where did you show the 10s being put together in your equation? How many 10s did you have? 8 total. 8 total. And then where did you show it in your equation, the hundreds being put together? Yeah, awesome. So here's what I'm wondering. So I love your equation. So I'm got about 3 more minutes. 3 more minutes. I'm coming back to you. Oh, you're racial. Okay. So here's what I want to know. You have written your equation. Is there another way you could write your equation though, to show me how you added the ones together? So tell me what you added on the ones again. 5 and the 3. And then what did you add on the hundreds again? The 200 plus the 100. Could you show an equation that shows you how you added those together, the value of the 2 and the value of the 1? It's not just 2 and 1, it's 200 and 100. So I'm wondering if there's another equation you could write, kind of similar to your buddies over here that you might look at to see if that helps you spur some other thoughts on your equation. Okay, y'all work this. Don't erase it. That's a good equation. It's a good equation. How could you make this equation expand it and make it look maybe like your friend's group over here? Yes. Oh, let's see it. Y'all do it. Right. Let's go. All right. Talk to me about your equations. Y'all got all kinds of equations. Oh my. I love this. You're still writing. So talk to me about what's happening here. Tell me about this equation.
So this equation. I guess you
Gotcha. Okay. And so where did you get this? Oh, okay, gotcha. So you had the hundreds, the partial sum of hundreds, the partial sum of 10, the partial sum of 1. What I'm wondering is where's the ones here in this equation? Okay, so how many ones were there?
Actually,
8. So where do you see the 2 sets? What 2 sets of ones did we add together? Yep. So this, you added 70. Is this a 70?
oh, that's a.
Oh, that's a 1. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I got you. So that's a 1. But is this says 50 and 30? Where do you see 50 and 30 in your number? Is there a 50 and 30? Where is it? Okay, so let's look at, here's your problem. 215 plus 173. The 3 and 5. Is that what you're saying? But we have 50 and 30. So where did you get this 50 and 30? Oh, well, you erase it. Oh, it should have just been a what? Yep. Or the what? How much is this worth? This 5.
Okay.
So sometimes we get a little confused on that. That's okay. So you found that error that you had 5. It's really 5 and not 50. You still added it, right? Didn't you? You had the 5, And then this would have been a 3, so you had your partial sums. Right here, the 3. That's awesome. So you have your base 10, you took your numbers apart and added them up to both sides. So talk to me about what you're thinking of here with this equation. Okay, leave it right there. I'm gonna take it. Sure, I have it on portrait. That's probably not gonna work. Let me take another picture there, honey, if you don't mind. Okay, so talk to me about this equation. Why are you doing this? What's happening here?
Why can't it just?
You're adding them up. Why? Oh, you're just doing it a different way. So this came from adding your hundreds. Where did this come from? Oh, okay, I got you. And then you're working on adding the next piece of that. Okay, y'all keep working. We're about to come back together. Tell me about this real quick. Tell me about what you're thinking when making this equation.
So I decided to do expanded form.
Oh, expanded form. Yep.
Because there's 200, then 10, and then 5. And 170.
So then how did you find your total? Where is your total? Yeah. So where's your answer? Can you show me the answer? What do you do to find the answer? How much is 10 plus 70?
10 plus 7 is
10 plus 70. 110 plus 70.
80.
80. Can you fix that? And so how are you going to find your total answer? Your actual sum. So those are your partial sums. You just added them all together, right? Did you see what he did there? Show us that again.
I did not.
I love that. So what's the difference in those two?
This is telling you the answer. This one is how you
You're like looking at the 10s and 1s. This way it's going to be upside down. All right, we're about to come together to talk. All right, y'all ready to share some of your solutions that we have out? All right, here we go. So here's what we want to do. Everybody, let's see if I can figure out how to get the board to share. And we'll get this up. So you will turn, put your marker, tops on your markers, turn toward me while I try to get this working. And it's saying it's reinstalling. And so what you guys were working on today, remember our learning target was to work on solving addition and or subtraction problems. And you had to model and write an equation. I want you to try to tell your neighbor if you felt successful in your success criteria. Did you feel like you could model and write an equation? Talk to your partner about your success on that while I try to. You might want to point me in the right direction and what's happening now that I've screen shared. Oh, start right there.
Click the person in the bottom left on that screen. Like a little people on the left.
There it is.
The one.
Oh, I see it. Thank you. Yep. Sorry. All right, let's come back together. So let's look at a couple of solutions. Maybe this will work. Oh, look. Oh, yes. All kinds of solutions. So the first thing I want to look at is this one. Let me see if I can turn it. Okay. So hopefully that will work. Can y'all see that? There was a way we made this bigger last time. But I don't really remember what that was. Okay, so let's take a look. So you guys were working on adding these numbers together because you guys have talked about in your learning target that you decided it was adding and not subtracting. And you had to model and explain, model and write an equation. So let's take a look at this model that's up there. I want you to turn and talk to your neighbor that's near you. It could just be your group since you're still sitting in your groups. talk about this model. What does this model represent? And why do you think they have them separated out like that? So turn and talk to your neighbor. What is this model? What does each one of those represent? And why do they have them separated? Turn and talk to your neighbor.
It dropped you, Sharon.
Okay, so come back together. Well, I pull this model back up for us to look at. Probably flipped the wrong way again. Oh, no, it's still there. So talk to me about what you and your partner said. What do these models represent? What does this represent? The numbers. Remember, we were trying to figure out how many pictures that Sarah and Ben had on their camera, right, or on their phone. And so what does this number represent? 100? This number, this represents 100. What part of this represents 100? The box, yeah, the flat. So we had 100. What is this? Yeah. Gotta love it, y'all. It's okay. So that was 70, and then the next part was. Not sure why. Probably has my screen. That's okay. It's coming back quickly. And 3. So that top number was 100, and it was 70 and 3. Whose number of pictures was that? Whose number of pictures was that? Oh, it's so what did that model represent? Whose pictures did that represent? Yes, in the back. Right, and all that together was whose amount of photos? The 173. Y'all remember who that was? Yeah, it was Sarah, wasn't it? And then, so that number, assuming that Loveless can get it up here, was Sarah's number, or yeah, Ben's number. This was Ben's number. And this was, so we had 173, right? And then Ben's was, how much was this? 200, 10, and 5, right? So you guys had this number, this was Sarah's, this was Ben's. Why did they separate them out like that though? When y'all turned to talk, you were supposed to talk about why did they separate the place values out like that? What were y'all talking about? Yeah. It represented every single number. It represented every single number. What does she mean by that? Represented every single number. Because the number was 173 and the other number was 215. Turn and talk to your neighbor. Why do you think they spread them out like that? What does she mean by they separated every single number? What does she mean by that? Talk to your neighbor. What do you call those? The 1 and 7 and 3. What do you call those? Yeah. It doesn't like it does. Okay, so let's come back together. You guys were having a great conversation back here about why they separated them. What did you say it was called that when they pull numbers apart like that? Decomposed. That's right. They were decomposed. But what were they decomposed into? That 100. What did you say? Oh, did y'all talk about place value in your discussions? So they decomposed them into place value parts. They decomposed them into place value parts. But I wonder why they did that. Did y'all talk about why they did that? Why they put them into place value parts? So let's look at another solution and see if we can figure out what they were thinking. So let's take a look at
Sideways. Okay, we're gonna flip it. All right, so we're gonna put this one up and let you guys look at that. There was a way we made this mix last time, but you can see this picture. We have 8 plus 80 plus 300 equals 380. Y'all see that model? That's kind of hard to see, a little small. I want you to turn and talk to your neighbor. What happened from the first model that we just saw, where they were all decomposed and separated, to the second model? And what do these numbers represent? Turn and talk to your neighbor. What happened from the first model to the second model?
So they added it.
They put them together in one big number. So where did that come from? Gotcha. So they put those together one at a time. Are y'all there? They know how y'all do. Yeah. Yeah, they put their hundreds together. All right, so let's come back together before my screen goes dark again. Hurry. Okay, so what do you think? What happened from the first one to the last, or the first one we just saw to this one? What happened? Yeah.
The first one was expanded, and now this one, it was more kind of put together.
They put them together. So the first one, we had that expanded form that you may have learned about in 2nd grade, right? That you had them expanded out. And now tell me your name, sweetheart. What was your name? Your name? Yeah. What was it? Bear. Says that they put them together now. So they expanded and they put them together. So what did these, where did these numbers come from? This 300, this 80, this 8. Where did that come from? Yeah.
It came from the box, once you put through all the math, you put out a box, the numbers are represented what we have out on our
Lost it again. I was trying to keep up. You're exactly right. They were putting the place values together, right? So they were using a place value strategy to add. Do you know what we call those numbers underneath that 300, that 80, that 8? It is expanded form, but when you put that 100 and that 300 together, what do we call the answer to an addition problem? Turn and tell your neighbor. What do you call the answer to an addition problem? If you remember from 2nd grade, what do you call it? Oh, I hear it. Come back and share with me. What was that again? The sum. So if the whole answer is the sum, what do you think you call these partial answers? Turn and talk to your neighbor. What do you think we call those partial answers if the whole answer was the sum? Yeah. Well, I think I heard it back. What's it called?
Partial sum.
What do you think? Could it be called partial sums?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know if you learned about that or heard about that in 2nd grade, but partial sums. So we got our partial sums and you were able to find our whole sum by putting those together, right? So when you're thinking about adding, remember part of our learning today was to solve problems involving addition or subtraction. And we definitely were solving. And you had to model and write an equation, and y'all were rocking that success criteria. So we have one more solution to look at. Ready to go. Oh, this loves me to put these on. Yeah, that helps. Where is the equation? This is what happens. Okay, here it is. Let me flip this one. So you know how we just talked about partial sums? Y'all remember that conversation we just had? Look at this model and look at this equation. I'll try to make it bigger right there. Y'all see that? I want you to turn and talk. Do you see partial sums in this equation? If so, where are they? Turn and talk to your neighbors. Do you see partial sums in this one? If you don't see them, could you make them? Can you come up with where they could be? Talk to your neighbors. Y'all see them? Y'all know this is your So you have your partial sums. How could you show your partial sums now? You could, right. So how would you show it where this part though without the model? All you have is the numbers. Okay, let's come back together. Who thinks they can answer that question? Does this show partial sums? I heard a yes. Anybody disagree and think no, it doesn't? Who thinks it doesn't? Who thinks it does?
Oh, I like a good math fight. So let's see. Let's go start again. Let's argue about this. What? Somebody says it does show partial sums. Somebody says it doesn't show partial sums. So who can defend? Yeah. You want to defend, or you want to defend? You want to defend? Go for it.
So
Which one are you defending of? Do you think it shows partial sums or not?
it doesn't show partial sum
Okay, she says it doesn't. Tell us why.
because the numbers have been put together.
Oh, so let me ask you a question. On the last partial sums we saw, were the numbers put together? Were they put together?
No.
So these numbers weren't put together, but was the hundreds put together? And the tens put together? And the ones put together? So let's go back to that one. Where did it go? Here. Does it show the ones, the tens, and the hundreds put together?
Yes.
It does. But so why are you saying there's not partial sums? What do you think?
Because they put it all together. They put it all the way together.
Oh, I got you. So they're not showing the ones being added, the tens being like expanded or decomposed like our friend over here said. They just said the ones, five ones plus 3 ones is 8 ones. 1 10 plus 7 tens is 8 tens, and 200 plus 100 is 300. So so she's saying there's no partial sums. Who thinks there is partial sums and wants to defend that? Somebody want to defend that? Oh, come on, somebody wants to defend that. So if I added the 5 and the 8 together, let's rewrite this problem. Go ahead. Somebody was talking. What do you want to share on the partial sums? So that last one, let's look at it. They started with the ones, and they have tens, then they have the hundreds. Can we do the same thing in this problem? Can we do the same thing in this problem without expanding? You can. Some say no, some say yes. Trying to talk to your neighbor. Can I take this problem and still write those partial sums underneath it? Trying to talk to your neighbor. Can you do that? And why or why not? Why not if you're saying no?
Well, right now they're put together, so.
I'm gonna put them under together and just write it out. Okay, so let's come back together. I asked you, can you show those partial sums without expanding them out? What do you think? Can you? Some people are saying no. I heard some yeses. Some people are saying no. So if I added the 200 plus the 100, how much is that? 300, right? What's the 110 plus the 7 tens?
80.
What's the 5 ones plus the 3 ones?
8.
8. Can I have a partial sums without expanding it like this? With the expanded form? Oh, maybe I can. So really this 8 here was a partial sum of the ones, wasn't it? You added the ones together. Then the partial sum of the tens was just written here. The partial sum of the 100. So I would challenge you that maybe these are partial sums, but like our friend, tell me your name, sweetheart. What was it? Yeah. Said that when she put them all together, right? So she had put them all together at once and didn't have to think about separating them out. So when she was thinking of solving the problem, she didn't have to write 380 and 8 like our friend here in the yellow, the yellowish green, said, I just did it in my head because they were able to put those together. So we don't have to always write them out, but we can show those partial sums. So you guys did an awesome job with your learning target today. You were able to solve word problems involving addition today. You were able to model it, write an equation, several equations, and came up with that those, tell your neighbor again, what did we discover those pieces that we're putting together? What did we call these? If they're not the sum, tell your neighbor, what did we discover those are called? Oh, I heard it. Yeah, those are partial sums. So those partial sums help us solve the problem. So as you continue to work to solve addition and subtraction problems, I want you to think about using those partial sums to solve, okay? So here's what I need you to do.
You're gonna clean up your base 10 blocks and erase your desk, and you have 30 seconds to be back in your seat. Ready? Go.
Oh, I love we're already here.
20. You sure can. Thank you so much. If you want to put it on the table where they came from, that will be great. Oh, 10 seconds. You guys were awesome today. What I'm putting on your desk is an exit ticket. It has 2 problems for you to solve that involve what we talked about today, what we learned today during our lesson. So if you'll put your name on it, and you will work to solve these problems. And then where would you like them to put them when they're done on the table?
Just on the table.
On the table when you're done. Where the base 10 blocks are. Y'all with me? Does everybody have one? You need one? There you go. Oh, you have an extra. Okay, so put your name on it, and you can see, actually, there's 2 exit tickets on this page. I'm sorry, I'm gonna cut those in half. You only have to do the top part. Okay? Sorry about that, y'all. They're 2 identical ones, so you only have to do the top part. Y'all with me? Follow me? 2 problems. Y'all work on those and on the blue table when you're done. Have a great day. Y'all